President, Pamela Good, and their Literacy Director, Lareea Jester, with us on the program. Thanks for being with us today.
Morning.
Good morning. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah, appreciate having both of you on. Some exciting news for Beyond Basics. Your organization doing great work all throughout the local area to help mitigate the literacy issue, particularly in the city of Detroit. And recently, your organization received a very generous gift from the Van Elslander Foundation for the Detroit Public School Community District, Denby High School. Can you tell us a little bit about this donation, why it was made to Beyond Basics, and the ways it's going to help break the literacy gap down a little bit further in the city of Detroit?
Yes, we're very thankful that the Van Elslander Foundation stepped up to fund all the students at Denby High School to learn to read better. However far they're behind, we're going to be able to spend some time in one-on-one tutoring and help them learn to read better. And the reason Denby High School is because Mr. Van, Art Van Elslander, attended in Denby High School and graduated in 1948. And so we're very thankful that they've heeded our call to help and have done so in such an abundant and generous way.
Yeah, so this program was then, this donation was announced, and the Beyond Basics Legacy Program was then revealed just last week on October 20th. What will be the Beyond Basics Legacy Program there at Denby High School? How will that ultimately be utilized to help improve the literacy of students at this school?
Mm-hmm. So I'll talk about the legacy program, and then I'll maybe Lareea can comment on the program and what the funding will be used for. So it is to fund the tutoring, but the legacy program is really to incorporate a couple courses about Art Van Elslander's life. And the fact where he started is similar areas to where the kids go today. And that what he did with his life, how he developed a big business. And, you know, Mr. Van was one of those great contributors to the community. He did it in so many ways. And so we believe that he's got a very inspiring story that we would like to impart to the students. And they'll receive a certificate. They'll do some writing on their own on what they've learned about from his life that they can carry forward. And one of the statements that Art Van used to say all the time was, it's not the hand that you're dealt, but it's how you play it. And so they'll receive a medallion scholar with that inscription on the back. And so that's just kind of an add-on to the tutoring that takes place. And you may have another question or response there, but Lareea can go into detail about our model and what that money actually goes to fund.
Yes. The funding will go specifically to Denby High School in our tutoring program. We use Orton Gillingham-based curriculum that allows us to work with students on their literacy deficiencies. We assess the students in the beginning when they first come into the program so that we can get an understanding of where they are and what needs they have to get them where they need to be in literacy. And so we use those assessment scores to build an individualized reading plan for each student, and the tutors work with those students based on the individualized reading plan. So it's customized, so each student is getting exactly what they need, and the students come with various levels of need, and so we have the curriculum to assist them no matter what level they're coming in on. So if they are further behind, we have curriculum to get them those foundational skills. And if they are already literate readers, we have programming, our Scholars Plus, that takes them to the next level. So we have curriculum that continues to build their vocabulary, allow them to continue building those writing skills and those higher level reading passages. So no matter what level a student comes in on, the programming and the curriculum that we use at Beyond Basics assist them with taking it to the next level.
We're joined by Pamela Good, president of Beyond Basics, as well as Lareea Jester, their literacy director. And so, Lareea, you mentioned that part of this program that will be at Denby High School in Detroit, part of the evaluative process of it with these students will be putting them through Orton Gillingham-based programs. Tell us a little bit about just what those programs are for those that are unfamiliar, and why they'll be helpful to students at Denby High School and others that are going through Beyond Basics programs that maybe are getting these different programs.
Absolutely. Orton Gillingham focuses on basically the science of reading, so assisting students, giving them those foundational skills that allow them to decode. When they see a group of letters together, how do they decode so that they can sound out the word? So that's the foundation of, the Orton Gillingham. And then just teaching them, no matter what word they come across, they use these skills to break down and sound out, any word, whether they are familiar with it or not. They will be able to look at a word, decode it, sound it out. And then from there, we can build their vocabulary and discuss the meanings of the words, and to just broaden, their vocabulary. Even if they don't know what a word means, they will still be able to sound it out. And then from there, we take them through that process of learning the definition so that they can start to use those vocabulary in their everyday lives and recognize it when they see it in printed text.
Yes. Tyler, may I add on something to that?
Sure, yeah.
I know we're talking about a donation in Denby High School in Detroit, and we know that kids in vulnerable communities struggle with literacy. But what most people don't realize is that kids in every school district can struggle with literacy. We have more and more students who are have a label of ADHD, dyslexia, autism, even some English language learners that can speak English but can't read and write it well. They all have learning differences. And one component that I think is significant here is that this is a multi-sensory curriculum. It breaks down the English language with different senses, if you will, so that a child who may have a deficiency in one of those areas, they can count on another sense, one of their senses, to help carry them through and bridge that gap. And so this curriculum works regardless of the learning difference. And we've been able to use it in communities outside of Detroit with great success. And, it's one that we'll stay with, and other people are joining us in this and appreciating all the studies that show the improvement that kids get with a multisensory Orton Gillingham and one-on-one tutoring.
So in other school communities in Detroit or in other communities as well that Beyond Basics serves, is there a chance that other legacy programs such as the Art Van Elslander Foundation's program that's going to be in place at Denby High School, is that possible that could be something similar put into place at other schools in our local area or other schools in areas that you serve? And if not immediately, how beneficial would those specific programs being there in those specific schools be, especially in communities where there are significant gaps in literacy from proficient levels?
We really do still need the private sector to help until the public sector steps in and does what we all feel like should be done anyway. And our history for 20 years, the community's been very generous. I know that, the board at the Art Van Elslander Foundation has asked that others follow their lead. And I know General Motors has stepped out. They realize there's an epidemic of illiteracy in our community and our nation, and they're asking others to join. The magnitude's so great that we really do need a private-public partnership. And so, yes, we would be open to welcoming other, legacy funders to come in and help get kids reading.
We're joined by Pamela Good and Lareea Jester. They are the president and the literacy director, respectively, at Beyond Basics, joining us on the MegaCast. And we've heard so much over the last few months as we've seen the American Rescue Plan and other stimulus packages be discussed, the Build Back Better plan currently being discussed, as well as other infrastructure bills, and of course the state budget here in Michigan We've heard so much about increased funding for our public school systems across the board, especially here in the state of Michigan. How will looking at those objectively from your organization's point of view, how will those increases in funding to our public schools assist with programs like this? Does it help to really bridge those gaps you were talking about and that need for the public sector to catch up in any significant way, or is this still a very, very minute step in a long process that needs a lot more public sector attention?
It will be a long process. I will say that we have benefited from some of the stimulus dollars to fund kids learning to read. We've also benefited from some literacy lawsuit settlement dollars that have helped students. But the magnitude is great because this intensive work hasn't been done for decades. And so we have not only our third graders that are behind, but we have 4th through 12th graders that just need some instruction to help them read better. And so my hope is that these stimulus dollars will be used right now, but also that the public platform, our government, realizes that they're going to have to continue it in some way. It can't just be the private sector that funds this necessary work.
And how much of this work to help bridge these literacy gaps in our communities, particularly in the communities in Michigan that Beyond Basics serves, how much of that is a factor? How much is technology a factor in that? Because on one hand, you can have that one-on-one interaction in these schools where it is possible, where it's permitted in these current times, but also technology plays so much into the role of the fabric of our society, and technical literacy as well as general literacy and the ability to read are often going hand in hand in today's world, both on the education front and after kids get out of school and get either into the workforce or into higher education or another path.
Right. Well, I believe that literacy is the foundational piece in education that gap needs to be closed immediately. You know, when you have not even 50% of the kids attending school today that are proficient, that's a crisis. So technology, you know, some of them need devices. They also need some literacy in, you know, technology, how to use the computer. But the first and foremost, we have to get kids reading. And I don't want the technology piece to distract from the fact that we do need to assess these kids and we need to pair them with tutors. And you're talking about almost half the kids attending school today need this intensive one-on-one. What we call it here at Beyond Basics is that any child that's more than a grade level behind is in the literacy gap. And the kids that are less than a grade level behind, those are the students that typically get served with the literacy interventions. They're a lighter weight intervention. And we just need to, as a people, demand and as society, get all of our kids reading. And I think that the Art Van Elslander Foundation and others are stepping up to say, yes, this is where we need to put our dollars. And we're very thankful for them and for you in helping us get this word out.
We're joined by Pamela Good, president of Beyond Basics, as well as Lareea Jester, the literacy director at Beyond Basics. And Lareea, just for context, for people that have not either heard of Beyond Basics and the work that they're doing, or haven't had themselves or their children or someone that they know go through one of these programs to help bridge some of those literacy gaps in our communities. When is it most important to get a kid into a program like this to help them catch up? Does it matter if this program intervention has gotten to them at an earlier level versus a later level in their schooling? And then when it does get to them, what's the timetable there between them getting into this program and them either catching up or being at a much more proficient level to where they're further along and that gap has gone from being significant to being moderate?
Yes, so we do work with the students based on the assessment that they take. It gives us information on what we should expect in a specified amount of time. So we work with the students according to that timeline, and in that timeline we expect to see grade level movement based on where the student begins versus when they complete the specified number of sessions that their original prescription called for. Once we test them out of the program and all the student has been consistently attending and working with their tutor regularly, we expect to see grade level movement within that time. And as far as when a student should receive the services, there, and Pamela can speak to this also, but when you notice, or when we know that the student has these gaps, putting them into the program at that point is critical, but it doesn't matter when we put them in there. So we have students, we've worked with elementary students, we worked with high school students. In both instances, once they get into the program, we see significant growth in the student once they start participating. So a third grader participating versus a 12th grader participating, we still are able to see significant growth once the student starts participating in the program.
We're joined by Pamela Good, president of Beyond Basics, as well as Lareea Jester, their literacy director, joining us on the MegaCast. And just a few more minutes with the two of you before we'll say goodbye. So Pamela, I want to give you an opportunity. Are there any ongoing efforts right now through Beyond Basics that the community can participate in to help your organization and your efforts not only to provide a greater literacy education to children in areas of our communities where there is a significant gap, but also to help provide for children in our communities in other ways as well?
Right, absolutely. I think the two main ways right now, tutors. We need more tutors. So you can have funding, but we need the tutors trained and be able to pair them with students. And so anyone out there who's interested at all, just contact us. I believe you can connect on our website, beyondbasics.org. But we need tutors. It's a phenomenal career path, and we hope that people will reach out. The other way is we have our annual coat drive, and we need gently used and new coats. You can donate dollars, and we have agreements with some distributors to purchase those coats at a reduced rate. So coats for kids, and that is K-12, and tutors to help get kids reading.
You can learn more about all these ongoing events and opportunities to sponsor a child or donate to Beyond Basics by going to their website, and that is, again, as Pamela said, beyondbasics.org, and just scroll down their homepage where you can find more information on their annual coat drive for Detroit families that's running now through November 20th. Pamela, Lareea, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Appreciate it.
You.